I am still excited for the pay-per-view on Sunday. Not nearly as much as I am for SmackDown on Friday. Real quickly, the lineup for the show, they have a bunch of legends announced for the episode already. Between Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Trish Stratus, Kurt Angle, Mark Henry, Goldberg, among others. I don't think The Undertaker's going to be there. I saw him on the advertising, but based off the list that I saw, I don't think Taker will be there, which is weird. Maybe because he was just recently on SmackDown at MSG and they don't want to go back to that well so soon. They don't need The Undertaker, but I'm saying that, he's been such a big part of that brand for so long. I think it's weird he hasn't been invited. Batista, I would love to see Batista on SmackDown, but there's really no role for him anyway. He's been as big a part of a SmackDown as anybody. I'm glad he was there at SmackDown 1000 a year ago for the Evolution reunion. But other than that, there was no real reason to have him on this show. Like Edge, same thing. It'd be cool to see Edge, but he's the same type of person like Batista where he's not going to come back for a cheap pop. He's going to come back if needed. If they host a Cutting Edge with Edge and I'm not sure who else would be on the show, but, someone along those lines, like they did with Becky and Charlotte and Edge a year ago, then that would be cool. But I don't think they're going down that route at all. I don't think that's where they're going with this. I think it's, they're not, that's not what they're doing with this show. They just have a bunch of legends advertised. I assume most of them will be making appearances backstage on the show and not coming out for like one segment or whatever. But The Rock, I assume The Rock will have the biggest role on SmackDown on Friday. He was announced for the episode as of Monday on his own social media. And it had been rumored for a while that The Rock could be in attendance for the big SmackDown Fox premiere. It's a grand occasion. They're celebrating 20 years of SmackDown. It would make sense. He coined the term, after all, 20 years ago. And we also have not seen him on SmackDown in over 6 years. I believe since 2013. And I don't count that one off when he had like that backstage segment with Triple H about 5 years ago. That doesn't really count. It was pre-taped on Raw. So I'm counting in-ring appearance on the show. And I didn't really want to see them do what they did 10 years ago when they have Rock, phone it in literally with a quick cameo from via satellite, whatever. No, I wanted to see him show up, and he is, which I think is great. I agree with anyone, with as much as the next guy, that they need to focus less on the returning stars and way more on the current roster. I totally agree with that. At the same time, though, I don't think you can have a proper SmackDown celebration without the Great One. So I'm glad he's going to be there, his first WWE appearance, I believe since WrestleMania 32. And that was over 3.5 years ago when he beat Eric Rowan in that glorious 6-second squash. That was the last time we saw Rock on WWE TV. So it's going to be cool to see The Rock. I'm sure the crowd will be super hot for him. I don't know what he's going to be doing. He did say in an interview on the Kelly and Ryan show, whatever it's called, about 2 months ago, that he has since quietly retired from the ring. So I don't think another match is in the works. I think he's done, unfortunately. As much as I would love to see another match with The Rock, considering his last match on the record is with Eric fucking Rowan, of all people. Like a match with Roman Reigns would be cool. I know him and Triple H was teased at one point years ago, and it never happened. Nevertheless, though, I assume, maybe there's a chance. I just assume this appearance is solely to hype up the live crowd, get them going, and that's it. He might rock bottom someone like a Sami Zayn, like Taker did a few weeks ago at MSG, but beyond that, it really won't be anything too newsworthy. It's just going to be entertaining to see The Rock, as the guy always delivers. He never ceases to electrify the audience, so it should be a great appearance nonetheless. From an in-ring standpoint, we do have 4 matches currently advertised for the show. Like I said earlier, more matches announced for SmackDown than there is the 4-hour pay-per-view on Sunday. There is something seriously wrong with that, but anyway. They have the ladder match between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon, where if Kevin Owens wins, he will get his job back and will be able to fire Shane from his position of authority on SmackDown. If Shane wins, Kevin Owens remains fired. That's it, so nothing changes. Obviously, Kevin Owens will win. He will rid us of Shane McMahon once and for all, as he should, for right now anyway. I assume there's a very good chance Shane comes back the very next week. A lot like Kevin Owens came back the very next week after he got fired a few weeks ago. He has not taken a single week off from NXT, or rather from SmackDown. He should have showed up at NXT. He didn't, unfortunately. But anyway, with Shane McMahon, they absolutely need to take him off TV for the foreseeable future. There's no reason to have him around still. He should have been taken off TV months ago. let alone now. So I assume that's the direction they're going with this, and Kevin Owens will win. In the 4 horsewomen tag team match, Sasha Banks and Bayley versus Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. It should be a great match. Of that first encounter in MSG on Raw a few weeks ago, which I was in attendance for, was any indication of what they're capable of together. And we've known that for a while. I mean, their 4-way at TakeOver Rival, I think it was, in February of 2015 was a fucking banger. That match was awesome. I mean, granted, this was a tag team match, but still it was great. So this should be a good match. I would have Sasha Banks and Bayley win this time. Becky and Charlotte won the last one. I guess they could have it end in a DQ or something, but... And I also think it's likely they could have Charlotte pin Bayley again, a lot like she did in the last match at MSG, to set up another match between Charlotte and Bayley for Sunday, but we had seen that last time. It would be too repetitive. They got to keep Bayley looking strong. They can't just keep having her get pinned by Charlotte in non-title matches. So honestly, I want Banks and Bayley to win. They should be looking like threats going into that pay-per-view. Now, I know Bayley doesn't have a championship match on Sunday, and she very well may. Maybe they do something else to set up that match. I don't know. But I do think Banks and Bayley should win this one after losing the last match a few weeks ago. And also considering they also own a victory over the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Don't let that be forgotten about either in all of this. Don't let that get lost in the shuffle. So I assume that they'll get their championship shot at some point down the road. I'm not sure when that would be, but if they're going to get that championship match at some point, they should win here. It just kind of goes without saying. Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan. This is the match I see having a fuck finish. I don't see Rowan beating Roman for the second straight time clean, or by pinfall, whatever, or by submission, God forbid. I do think it will end in a DQ. I don't think they want to have Rowan get beat just yet. They just, he just beat Daniel Bryan. He beat Roman Reigns. There's no reason, as much as I don't really care for Eric Rowan, there's no real reason right now to have the guy get pinned by Roman Reigns. So have Eric Rowan lose by DQ after Luke Harper interferes, have the two teams brawl, and that leads us into Sunday. Then the WWE Championship match between Brock Lesnar and the current champion Kofi Kingston. Brock wins. Now, I know there could be a scenario where someone interferes, costs Brock the match, ends in a DQ. Rey Mysterio would be as likely as anyone after what we saw go down on Monday's Raw. But at the same time, though, I think Brock winning the championship would be the best call, just because they want to debut on Fox with a bang, and they really want to ring in this new era of the Blue brand the best way possible, and I think the best way to do that would be with a title change. Now, we can argue all day, is Brock Lesnar the right person to take that championship from Kofi? It's debatable. Probably not, just because Brock's not a full-timer. No one's going to really benefit from beating Kofi Kingston of all people, but he has been booked very well for the better part of 2019. Kofi's not been beaten a hell of a whole lot in 2019. Brock beating him is a foregone conclusion. Kofi beating Brock is not going to happen. Someone's either going to interfere and cause the DQ, or Brock becomes champion. I think it's more likely Brock walks out the new champion, and he holds that championship for a while. I know he's advertised for a bunch of dates on SmackDown through the end of the year. I think that's awesome. I assume he'll appear at Survivor Series. I'm not sure about the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. I think he has done, I'm pretty sure, all the Saudi Arabia shows up to this point. I think, right? He won the championship from Braun last year at Crown Jewel #1. He lost, or was he even at Saudi Arabia this year? I don't think he was. Maybe he was, and I don't think he cashed in the contract. Maybe that was what happened. I think he was on the show. He was on the Super Showdown show in Saudi Arabia earlier this year. Didn't wrestle, but he was on that show. And then he beat Roman Reigns at the first ever Saudi Arabia show in April of last year inside the steel cage match. So, I assume he will appear on the show. They want all the star power they can get. So, I assume he will become champion. Maybe they do a rematch with him and Kofi at that show. He wins again, and he holds the championship for the foreseeable future.